There's a lot of Deadpool drama swirling around the internet. Let's break down what's going on, who's saying what, and what it means for Deadpool fans and the MCU. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button like you're trying to fight Colossus, and let's get right into this video. Okay, first up, I want to say this is both spicy and speculative. A lot of this is up for debate, but I do want to talk about this crazy sequence of events, how we got involved with it, what other people are saying, and then kind of explain what I actually think is going on. My opinion has literally changed since the last 5 hours ago when I talked about this. You know, the internet is a series of tubes, and information flows through these tubes, and it flows really, really quickly. Now, also, I want to talk about fact, or at least as much fact as we can. So let's just start here. As far as we know, Deadpool 3 is being developed, and it is being developed over at Marvel Studios. Now, this mostly comes from Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds has talked about this on actually a couple of different shows, in a couple of different interviews. The fact that, yes, Deadpool 3 is in development. It's no longer over at Fox. Now it's happening over at Marvel Studios. And there's also a production grid that came out when some of these stories were popping off late last year that sort of corroborates this happening. It explains that, yes, something Deadpool is being developed over at Marvel Studios. However, from there it gets a little bit weird because there's been a couple of things that happened in the last 5 days that sort of threw a lot of confusion around and have people wondering what exactly is happening with Deadpool 3 and the MCU. First up, Ryan Reynolds recently was on the Jimmy Fallon show and he said this.
So I'm hoping it's released sooner than later, but I know Disney's super excited about it. They bought it from Fox, where I used to work, and here we go. Yeah,
is Deadpool also Fox?
Deadpool, yeah, what was Fox, and then now it is in the hands of Marvel over there at Disney. Yeah,
and what and can those worlds be combined, or we don't know?
I see infinite possibility in either version. You know, if Deadpool were to be in the Marvel comic universe, I think, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe rather, I think it would be explosive and amazing and what a sandbox to play in. If Deadpool continued to get to just do his own thing and be his own thing, also just like infinite possibility.
And the next crazy thing that happened was Rob Liefeld going on a video with comicbook.com where he said a couple of things that really gave people some head scratching confusion. Like, what do you mean, Rob? Rob Liefeld said, "We got 2 brilliant movies. And we live in a culture that always looks forward because all they're ever selling us is next, next, next. It's the fever," Liefeld continued. "For me, as the fever calms down, people just need to calm down and realize that Deadpool 1 and 2 were released within 2 years of each other in 2016 and 2018. And I just can't. I'm not really that crazy about Marvel's plan right now." Liefeld goes on to say, if they started production on Deadpool 3 this year, it would come out in 4 years. I can't be excited about that. You want to know the plan with Deadpool right now? They have a goose egg. 0. Now, we talked about this morning on the morning stream. Adam from Fanjecture joined me, and we went into the details on this, and we sort of speculated about what we thought it all meant. Now, I do still recommend people go check out that live stream. It's pretty good. The chat got really spicy. But also, you know, there's some things I learned since even recording that this morning that have sort of changed my mind and made me think a little bit differently about that. Number one, I saw a couple of people talking about how Rob Liefeld's name was not attached as producer on that production grid that went out late last year. So maybe he's a little bit salty about that, or perhaps he doesn't even know that that's a real thing. Although the production grid is just an indication of development. It is not like a, hey, we've started production. So I guess the best way to say it is there are official plans to produce a Deadpool 3 movie, but of course that hasn't happened yet, and a lot of that just has to do with what's going on in the world right now. Everything has stopped from being produced. Something else interesting that kind of made me think maybe Liefeld doesn't exactly know what he's talking about is in that same interview he talks about how he's pretty sure Hugh Jackman will be coming back to play Wolverine, even though he's repeatedly said that he will not, and Marvel Studios has said they're doing something new and different than what came before. Now, on top of that, Jeremy Conrad actually did a great interview that's addressing a lot of the different things that are going on with this situation over on MCU Cosmic. This was just published about an hour ago. And so I want to go over a few things that are in Jeremy's article. I recommend you go over to MCU Cosmic and check it out. It's a really great article that breaks some things down. These are at least very interesting points, even if I don't fully agree with the conclusions that Jeremy is coming to. Now, the first big thing that Jeremy addresses in his article is this idea that Deadpool can't be rated R. Now, this is something that Adam and I sort of dug into this morning when we were talking about that on the live stream. A lot of people think that Deadpool not being rated R, or perhaps a sort of debate between the Deadpool team and Marvel Studios about the rating, is perhaps why Deadpool is being sort of pushed to the side, which is probably not true. And here's a couple of things that Jeremy brings up in his article. First up, here is something that Bob Iger said on an investor call all the way back in 2017 on the day that it was decided that Disney would try to buy Fox. Iger said here, "It clearly has been and will be Marvel branded, but we think there might be an opportunity for a Marvel R brand for something like Deadpool. As long as we let the audiences know what's coming, we think we can manage that fine." Jeremy goes on to talk about Touchstone Pictures, which was literally an imprint or sort of like a subsidiary label from Disney that was literally created so that they could have more mature and R-rated stuff. They've actually done this before, so there is precedence. He also talks about Marvel Max, which is something I mentioned in our live stream. There is precedence for this happening in Marvel. Jeremy then mentions that Iger reiterated this just recently on an earnings call in February of 2019 when he hinted that they could be making more R-rated movies beyond Deadpool. Iger said, "We do believe there is room for the Fox properties to exist without significant Disney influence over the nature of the content, meaning that we will see that there is certainly popularity amongst Marvel fans for the R-rated Deadpool films. For instance, we're going to continue in that business, and there might be room for more of that." And Jeremy then goes on to bring up something that the Deadpool writers talked about when they were doing press for Zombieland Double Tap. The writers said here, "I think the party line and truth is we're all still figuring it out. Marvel has promised to continue to let us play in the R-rated Deadpool universe, and the hope is that they will also let us veer into the MCU a little bit as well and play in that sandbox." Now, the next thing that Jeremy brings up in this article is talking about how Deadpool 3 will be a part of the MCU. And there are a couple of other statements that he brings up to support his hypothesis that, yes, it will remain in the MCU. Now, here is something that Iger said when talking to The Hollywood Reporter in September of 2018, saying that there will only be one Marvel. "I think it only makes sense. I want to be careful here because of what's been communicated to the Fox folks, but I think they know. It only makes sense for Marvel to be supervised by one entity. There shouldn't be two Marvel." Then, a year after that, in Disney's third quarter earning call of 2019, Iger confirmed that Feige was overseeing Deadpool. The quote says, "We see great long-term value in a broad collection of theatrical IP we acquire from Fox, including iconic movie franchises such as Avatar and Planet of the Apes, as well as Marvel's X-Men, Fantastic Four, and Deadpool, which are now part of Marvel Studios under the leadership of Kevin Feige, the architect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which now includes 23 movies and a global box office of more than $22 billion to date." And here's what the writers said about that. We want to play in the sandbox. One of the great things about the MCU is how rich and broad it is. For instance, just think about the world of villains, how great the world of villains are. We're never able to use a lot of those villains because they were on the MCU. Well, now we can. So right away, we're definitely excited about getting the shot to do that. I think Ryan is too. I think the MCU people are too. Just the idea of throwing Deadpool into the mix is exciting to them. Now, again, I just want to say shout out to Jeremy. That's a great article, and you guys should go read that article in its full details and decipher what you think is going on there. But I have to be honest here. I don't necessarily agree with Jeremy's takeaway at the end of his article. In fact, I think there's some things he brings up in his very own article that sort of argue counter to the point he is making. Now, not with regards to the R rating. I think it's pretty safe to say that, yes, they will do something with an R rating. And I actually do think Marvel would benefit a lot from something like a Marvel Max imprint, which is something I mentioned on the morning stream. Adam sort of disagreed with that. It's an interesting dialogue. You should check it out. But here's the deal. Of course, it's going to be developed and produced at Marvel Studios. I don't think that's really the question. The question is it going to be canon to the MCU storyline? And I guess what I say when I'm saying that is Deadpool going to show up and hang out with the Avengers? Is he going to be aware of what's going on in the world? Will the events and the things that happen in the Deadpool 3 movie have an effect on the greater MCU? And that I am not so sure about. If you look at Ryan Reynolds' comments, even just last week, literally in that Jimmy Fallon interview, and all the examples that Jeremy brings up in his own article that the writers have said, there is a clear separation of thought. They have their own R-rated Deadpool sandbox, which will arguably have more toys in it now than it had before. I think that's cool. But all of these comments hint to the fact that there will be a separation in those sandboxes, that the larger MCU world might not actually play nice with what is going on over in the Deadpool universe. Now, Jeremy points out in his article that Deadpool's the perfect character to bridge this gap, and I agree. The fact that he breaks the fourth wall, that's brilliant. He could literally come into the MCU, even be self-aware and make fun of the fact that he comes from the Fox X-Men movies. It would be really cool. But what remains to be seen is how Kevin Feige feels about that. Does Kevin Feige actually want that character to come over and have those self-referential jokes and have the Deadpool flavor be mixed up with all the flavors that he's cooking for his elaborately planned recipe? That I am not so sure about. I mean, if we just look at what's going on in the Spider-Man thing, right? Like, Feige's been pretty close-lipped about that. He said something to the effect of, like, Spider-Man can jump between universes, but he's really not talking a lot about Venom or anything like that. Tom Hardy keeps teasing Spider-Man over there. It's super clear that Sony's going to take Tom Holland and put that character over there, but it doesn't really seem like Feige's going to play nice. He's not going to allow much more MCU stuff to go over there, and he's not going to allow their stuff to come over to the MCU. I literally think that a similar type continuity might be set up with Deadpool and the rest of the MCU. Feige might give them a short list of characters that they can use, and he might actually plan that stuff out so that it's completely separate than the canon that he is doing. Or maybe it's a one-way street, just like it was for the Netflix shows and just like it will probably be for the Sony Marvel Universe. Because if we know anything about Feige, he likes things to be nice and neat and figured out and all produced by him. And so it's an interesting question and nerdy debate, my friends. And so I want to know what you think about this. What do you think? You think Deadpool's actually going to be in the MCU continuity? What level of connective tissue do you see going on there? Are you okay with waiting 4 years for Deadpool 3? Whatever you're thinking about all the different aspects to this story and to this drama that continues to swirl around the internet, let us know in the comment section below. And now let's shout out Balinor Bane. Indeed, Johnny Blaze was a stunt driver for a carnival before he became Ghost Rider. So shout out to you, Balinor. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what are the names of the two writers that helped Ryan Reynolds to create the Deadpool movies? Answer that question in the comment section below. If you absolutely need more nerdy content in your life, you could click or tap over there to watch some more of our videos, or come on by our live streaming channel where we live stream for an hour every day, Monday through Friday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Like this video if you liked it, or if you want to support us and get some behind-the-scenes content, join the list of amazing people you see below and check out our Patreon. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.